What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check update, what's going on in the United States, Washington, D.C., money, investing, and the next stimulus package, which is going to be $3.5 trillion. And the House of Representatives is working on finishing up the package this upcoming week. They have the 13 subcommittees that have finished up putting their finishing touches on the subcommittee portions of the bill, where 13 different subcommittees have finished the putting together the different subcommittees of the bill. I don't know any other way to put it. And they have not released these to the public yet. We will be seeing that this week and finishing possibly the final vote in the House of Representatives this week. We're going to be going over the details of that in this video, as well as some very important stuff like the government shutdown that needs to happen before the end of this month, or the government will shut down, and raising the debt limit, which we have some very, very important news directly from the White House that could mean a default of the U.S. government. Yeah, check this out. This was obtained by Business Insider, and it says here the White House warns states, U.S. states, of potential big cuts to Medicaid, school lunch programs, and disaster relief programs if the U.S. government defaults on its debt if they do not raise the U.S. government debt limit. Yeah. I'm going to show you this here in a second. This is going to be very, very big news. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says the U.S. is on track to default on the national debt in October, which is at this point 11 days away. I don't think it's going to happen on October 1st, but it's sometime in October if they don't come to an agreement in Congress between the Republicans and the Democrats. The problem is almost all the Republicans don't want to raise it, even though they have to raise the debt limit ceiling. This is on past debt. Just to pay the interest on the past debt, they have to raise the debt ceiling. Over 100 House Republicans have signed a letter promising not to vote to raise the debt ceiling as a partisan battle looms. Yeah. And 46 out of the 50 Republicans in the Senate have vowed not to raise the debt ceiling as well. They have to raise the debt ceiling just to pay for the past debt of the government, of all the past organizations. And remember, they raised the debt ceiling 3 different times under former President Donald Trump and past presidents as well. They have to raise the debt ceiling or else the government will default. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says that the U.S. is on track to default in October. That's correct, the U.S. government. We also have a government shutdown coming at the end of this month. That's they have to pass an annual budget or a continuing resolution, which is actually different than raising the debt ceiling. But CNBC says this, that Congress must suspend or raise the debt ceiling. Actually, let me zoom this in here for you so you can see this. CNBC says this, Congress must suspend or raise the debt ceiling before when the U.S. would default. We don't know exactly when this is going to happen in October, and risk missing payments to Social Security and the military. Yeah, so again, we don't know exactly what this could entail if the U.S. government defaults, because it has never happened. So if the U.S. government defaults, that basically means the government would run out of money and would not be able to pay its debts and pay its interest on its debt, would not be able to issue new money. And CNBC says that the U.S. would default and risk missing payments to Social Security and the military. So Business Insider has obtained this new memo. As you can see here, in this new memo sent out to state and local governments on Friday and has been obtained by Insider, the Biden administration has laid out how a potential U.S. default would ripple through at the state and local level. Programs that could face major reductions in federal aid include Medicaid and the Children's Health Insurance Program, both measures that provide free health insurance to tens of millions of low Americans. Here's what the memo says. Okay, the memo from the White House to the states says that the subject is the economic consequences of default on state and local governments if this were to happen. The US reached the debt limit at the end of July. Since then, the US Treasury has been taking extraordinary measures to prevent the US from defaulting on its obligations. In her third letter to Congress sent on September 8th, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen made clear that while it remains difficult to forecast how long extraordinary measures will last, the extraordinary measures are basically where the US government is using a reserve account of basically reserve money to fund the government, pay its interest, and pay debt that is owed and reserve money because they can't raise the debt limit. So they're using this kind of reserve account of $450 billion that has basically gone from $450 billion and is like running out of money. And sometime in October, it's going to run down to zero. And when it runs down to zero, they're not going to have any more money. So $450 billion in the course from the time of August 1st to sometime in October is going to run down to zero. So they basically went through almost $500 billion from August 1st to sometime in October. Yeah, just to run the government on normal basis here. That's how quickly our government runs through money. Okay, just on a normal basis here. This is without any stimulus packages or anything being passed in the midtime. Okay, so yeah. It says it is the Treasury's prediction that the most likely outcome is that these measures and cash will run out during the month of October. If Congress does not act before cash runs out, the U.S. will default for the first time in its history. Wow. Raising or suspending the debt limit does not authorize new spending commitments. It is simply enables the government to pay for obligations that Congress and presidents of both parties have already approved. It's basically saying we're paying for our past debts and our interest on our past debts. We expect Congress to act promptly to raise or suspend the debt limit and to protect the full faith and credit of the United States, just as it did in the bipartisan fashion three times during the prior administration, former President Donald Trump's administration. 3 times they raised the debt ceiling, and about 80 times since 1960. So again, this is not something new. It's just like a bank. It would be like a bank not being able to pay its debt, pay its interest, or being able to lend out money. A bank would not be able to function. A bank would go default. And think of the United States as a large bank. They have to do this or else the US government will go default. Whether it's a Republican president, Democratic president, they've done this 80 times since 1960, and they have to do this. One way or another, they have to do this. The US economy has just begun to recover from the pandemic, and a manufactured debt ceiling crisis would threaten the gains we've made and the future recovery. If the US defaults on its obligations, the ripple effects will hurt cities and states across the country. If the US defaults and can no longer pay its obligations, billions of dollars in the states' aid and states run but federally funded programs could be halted, like these programs down below. Disaster relief funds, FEMA, Small Business Association, Department of Housing and Urban Development, Department of Transportations, all spend billions of dollars. Medicaid, children health insurance programs, federal government covers 2/3 of Medicaid and the entire cost of CHIP, which provides health insurance for 1 out of every 5 Americans and give more than $500 billion to states each year. Infrastructure funding, through which grants for transit, highways, airports, and federal governments provide roughly $100 billion to states and locales. Education, across Title I funding, such as Individuals with Disability Education Act, Head Start, school improvement programs, $50 billion annually to states and local governments. Public health with community health centers, prevention, federal government's providing $10 billion to states for public health, child nutrition with the federal government, and national school lunch programs, which serve 30 million children. The WIC program. Wow. Together, these and the federal government's portion on the administration costs of the SNAP program, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, give more than $30 billion for local governments and nutrition for children and pregnant mothers. So the SNAP program could be at risk here too. Hitting the debt ceiling could cause a recession. Economic growth would falter, unemployment could rise, and the labor market could lose millions of jobs. A federal debt limit crisis could make it harder for states and localities to borrow and raise borrowing costs. Yeah, so they have to come to an agreement, but the problem is the Republicans are saying they're not going to vote yes on it. And I always like to show my sources here because I always get a few people in the comments to say that's not true. That's not true. Republicans aren't going to do that. Here's Fox News saying over 100 House Republicans signed a letter promising not to vote to raise the debt ceiling. And again, this is they have to do this just to pay for past debts and just to fund government obligations. The government can't run if they don't raise the debt ceiling. Yeah. So, nonetheless, House Majority Leader for the Democrats. Remember, the Democrats control the majority of the House. House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer says that the House will vote to avoid a debt limit default and a government shutdown this week. Now, remember that those are actually two different things. So they are going to try to vote on this week, but the problem is that if the Republicans don't vote yes on this, they're not going to be able to pass it in the Senate. They will be able to pass it in the House, but they're going to need at least 10 Republican senators to vote on it yes in the Senate, or else it won't pass. Now, they could include it in the stimulus package, but that remains to be seen if that's going to happen, because Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House and leader of the Democrats in the House of Representatives, says raising the debt ceiling won't be part of the reconciliation package, because that it should be voted on by both Republicans and the Democrats. It also might not be passed in time, because we have Democratic senators like Joe Manchin who might not vote yes on the package. And remember, they need every single senator from the Democratic side to vote yes to pass the stimulus package. And that kind of also throws the timeline into consideration here with both the stimulus package and the debt limit ceiling and the government shutdown. The government will run into a government shutdown in now 11 days or 12 days at the end of the month, or on October 1st. If they don't come to a government shutdown agreement on October 1st, we'll see a government shutdown. That's different than raising the debt ceiling where the government will default. The government defaulting and literally defaulting on its debt and for creditors and not being able to pay its bills, literally running out of money, is exponentially worse. Who knows what could happen there? Will they not be able to pay Social Security? Will they not be able to pay for the military? Will they not be able to pay interest and pay debts and lose its AAA credit rating? We really don't know because it's never happened before. So what could happen is all somewhat in theory because it's literally never happened before. So well, it remains to be seen. We don't want it to be seen because we don't want to see the government default. We want them to just come to an agreement. But this is kind of the political posturing that is just it's flabbergasting to think that this is even happening. That they can't come to an agreement on this. Now the Democrats are saying we want to just come to an agreement, but the Republicans are saying we're not going to do it, even though they raised the debt ceiling 3 times in 4 years underneath former President Donald Trump's presidency. And they have to do this no matter who's president, Democrat president, Republican president. It doesn't matter. It's like a bank not being able to lend out money, a bank not being able to pay its interest, not being able to do business. A bank would go out of business, the Bank of the United States. And nonetheless, with all this being happening, they're also going to be voting on the stimulus package this week because not this Monday, but the next Monday is the September 27th is the scheduled vote for the physical infrastructure package. And if they don't pass the stimulus package this week, then the physical infrastructure package will be voted on from what House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer and what Nancy Pelosi's promise to the other Democrats in the House has said, that that is the scheduled day for the physical infrastructure package, because they had to make this promise to the moderate Democrats to do this, to even proceed with the stimulus package first. So that's the scheduled date. Even House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer confirmed this, that they're going to vote on the physical infrastructure package on the 27th, which is now 8 days away. It's really coming pretty quick. So the plan is to, or the plan was and has been, to pass the stimulus package first and then the infrastructure package. Now, they could potentially pass both on the same day, but that's really pushing the envelope to pass both things on the same day. Now, the physical infrastructure package could theoretically be a quick vote because the reconciliation process is a much longer process. You have to go all through these stages of voting, putting the bill together, and all this stuff, right? The physical infrastructure package, the bill's already put together. The bill's already written. The Senate has already passed it. Like, the bill's already put together. They've already gone through all that stuff, right? The bill's put together. The Senate's already passed it. It's literally like all in a package with a nice little bow waiting in the House of Representatives. Like, just picture a nice little package with a bow sent from, with a nice little card that says from the Senate to the House. Ta-da! And just waiting there for the House. And it says, from the Senate to the House, signed $1.2 trillion as a nice little package to the states. And that's what it is. It's a Republican / Democratic package present. And when it's passed, when it's passed, it's going to go out and it's going to create millions of jobs over the course of the next 10 years. And it's going to send billions of dollars to the tune of physical infrastructure, roads, bridges, clean drinking water, internet, and physical infrastructure and bridges and all sorts of jobs and a lot of high paying jobs too. That, like, a lot of they say it's going to create a lot of jobs that are $50 an hour or more from these over the course of the next 10 years. And each state, all 50 states, are going to get billions of dollars from this, billions of dollars pumped into their economy. It's going to really help out the economy, which is really, really struggling right now. Remember, they only created 235,000 jobs for the entire country for the entire month of August. That's less than 1% of the entire population of the country. It's less than a half of one, it's less than a third of 1% of the entire population of the country was created in jobs last month. And the jobs are going down. Like, the amount of jobs that were created in June were like here, and the amount of jobs that are created in July were here, and the amount of jobs that are created in August were here. And that's with unemployment bonuses now being gone. So this will really give like a vitamin B shot to the economy. Although, remember, this infrastructure package is over the course of like 8 to 10 years. Also, the stimulus package, of course, is 3.5 trillion. The physical infrastructure package is 1.2 trillion. But they're going to try to pass that this week as well, because remember that the stimulus package of 3.5 trillion, the physical infrastructure package is kind of an insurance policy to the stimulus package. But they're going to vote on this physical infrastructure package on the 27th regardless. So on the 27th, if they don't pass the stimulus package in the House by then, they kind of lose that insurance policy a little bit of the physical infrastructure package. So time is really ticking on this stimulus package. They could pass them on the same day, but the plan is to pass them beforehand. So they got like 7 days or less to pass the stimulus package. I mean, they could try to pass them on the same day, but that's really pushing your luck, right? So we're down to like 8 days or less, 7 days or less to pass this stimulus package in the House, get everything together, put the bill together, which they pretty much have. They haven't released the details to the public yet, but we're going to be getting all that this week. And also, they got to get everybody in the House on the same page and voting together. Okay. They have several different representatives from the Democratic side that voted no in the subcommittee votes. So when they go to the final vote, will they all vote yes? Because remember, they can only afford 3 Democrats to vote no. If they get more than that, it doesn't pass. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean no, because they could just literally vote again the next day. They could just change one line, they could change one section, vote again, and that's what they might have to do. They did that with the physical infrastructure package. If you remember, if we go back, the physical infrastructure package, there was one vote that all the Republicans voted no. And I said, don't worry, guys, don't panic. I've been through this before. I've been leading you guys through this, right? I've been through this with multiple votes, kind of as we've been going through this over the months with all these different packages. Sometimes packages don't pass, and you know what they do? They just say, okay, what do we need to pass it? They just go back to the negotiation table literally an hour later, and they'll sit down with the people that voted no, and they'll say, okay, what do we need to vote to pass it? And they'll sit down with those no people and negotiate. Now, hopefully, when that negotiation, they negotiate with those no people, and that doesn't make some other people vote no. It's like, come on, guys, like we all got to be on the same page here. But that could happen. It could happen. But if it does happen, don't everybody panic. But also, we could see some things added in or changed at the last minute. Remember that we've had stimulus checks added in on the second stimulus check package even after they wrote the bill. And on the third stimulus check package, the House passed the bill and the Senate actually added in that $10,200 unemployment tax provision that made unemployment tax provision tax free for $10,200 of unemployment income, $10,000 of it tax free for unemployment money from last year of 2020, retroactive. And that meant if you had unemployment income, that meant the first $10,000 was tax free. And that meant a lot of people got an extra $1,000, $2,000, or even $3,000 extra check back because it made that income tax free. That was added in after they wrote the bill and after the House passed the bill. The Senate added that in after the House passed the bill. So even after the House passes the bill, they could change some significant things and even add things in at the very last moment. So I will keep you up to date with everything with this debt limit ceiling that they're going to have to pass one way or another. The government shutdown, which needs to happen by September 30th, or else the government will shut down on October 1st, and the next stimulus package and infrastructure package. Yeah, I'll keep you up to date with everything. Don't worry, we'll get through this together, and I'll show you the articles on the screen, headlines on the screen, so that you know everything I'm saying is true. I'll show you sources from Fox News, CNN, Insider, NBC, ABC. I don't pick sides, guys. I just show it to you on the screen so you know it's true. So you guys know that this is real. I'll show you interviews from the White House, from the Republicans, from the Democrats. That's why I show you guys my sources on the screen. I show you interviews, if it's from Bernie Sanders or from, because he's the guy in charge of the next stimulus package. I show you interviews. I show you articles right on the screen. So you guys know this stuff is real, right? So you know it's not just completely made up. That's why like to show you this stuff right here on the screen so you know that this stuff is real. So, but don't worry, I will walk you through this. We'll get through this together. I mean, I don't foresee that we're going to default on the government. I mean, we've had some scares on this before, but let's just hope they come to an agreement. I mean, I have faith in our government. I like to see things that we're gonna get through this together. So I'll keep you up to date on everything here. Remember, new videos come out here on our channel every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't miss any videos at this point. I will keep you up to date on everything. Make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so you don't miss out on any videos. After subscribing, click the bell icon to get notifications when we go live with new videos. You can click this video here to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video is how President Joe Biden is in favor of Social Security raises for SSI. and possibly even more. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.